Iridikron's Titan sister attacks. We go to Northrend in 10.2.5. You guys remember when I was going off about how we were going to go to Northrend, and I'll tell you about all the clues that could be coming about why I believed we were going to Northrend? Well, it looks like I might be right. And Iridikron has a sister? I don't know what this is about. This is coming from Dorn, the Truth Teller, so let's see what he has to say. He only tells truth.
So Iridikron's sister was turned into a Titan dragon, and it is suggested we could be seeing her soon. We're learning about the actual relationship between Deathwing and Iridikron, and most importantly, we are discovering new locations in Northrend from the new book that was literally just released that are almost certainly going to be relevant very soon. Most importantly, we learn of Iridikron's lair, probably somewhere near Crystal Song Forest, which could be a location where he might be right now. This lair could also be tied to the prison of Yogg-Saron that was hinted to still be active in Northrend. Additionally, we got a few more relevant locations and characters that could all be leading us to Northrend in 10.2.5 or 10.2.7. So what is all this new info from the brand new book? If you want to get Dragonfight or anything else warcraft related,
look, there were tons of Northrend
you can check out with my link below. Best of all, you can get software, gift cards, a bunch of games at below market prices. On top of that, you can also use my code DORON to get.
Do you guys remember that I even dug as deep as to find out that the boots that were on the trading post were created by a tribe of Tuskarr whose insignia was from Northrend? I told you guys, there were a lot of hints that everyone was like, oh, Sam, it's just for the Lich King. You know, it's all Lich King stuff because Wrath is out and all that. No. I'm telling you guys, there were hints of Northrend because we're going back to Northrend.
Another discount,
Sam
so
Sparrow
make sure
confirmed.
Check out my link
yes,
below
I confirmed 10.3.
There you go.
10.3.
So the new book was just released called War of the Scaleborn. However, I do feel like the timing of it is not exactly ideal. I mean, I feel like this info should have been out right before 10.1 or around the start of Dragonfight. I mean, in this book, we finally start learning the actual relationship between Elterion and Iridikron, what happened in that war, the relations between Alexstrasza and Vironot, and all of this is kind of coming out now as we're wrapping up the expansion and we already kind of knows how it ends. Now, I gotta say, the book definitely gives more context, it gives more weight to some of the cinematics and storylines that happened in game, although it isn't exactly groundbreaking, it's not exactly turning it into a masterpiece. However, I'm not here to give you a summary of the dragon conversations and all the fluff. I want to talk about a few really interesting bits that were mentioned in the book that seem like a pretty big setup for the future. So all of you might know that Northrend...
If you haven't read that book or I talked about it a little bit on stream, it's really about Vironoth and Alexstrasza and the struggles that they went through, the fights, how the eggs were poisoned with the gift of the Titans and all that stuff. All these things happened in that book. It's not something that you have to read to really understand the lore, but it is hinting at, maybe some Northrendian things to come and a little bit of Galakrond, stuff like that.
Is actually the home of the dragons, not the Dragon Isles. This is something that I've been talking about pretty much since the start of Dragonfight. Why is that dragons go to die in Northrend and not Dragon Isles when the Dragon Isles are supposedly their home? The real answer is that Blizzard just added this lore kind of out of nowhere, but if we accept that, this is the most realistic explanation. Now, I can't say Blizzard did a really good job explaining the connection between these two areas, but it is the ancestral home, and
we even talked about the fact that this area, remember, it was featured heavily in the cinematic, and if you looked at the map, it also had its own, drawing, as if it was supposed to be something very important, and it wasn't. Was this dropped raid content? We still think that maybe there was dropped raid content, a drop patch or something from this zone that was supposed to go more into explanation of what exactly all of this is for.
Between these two areas, but it is the ancestral home, and we have a few new locations mentioned in this book that are probably going to be relevant in the near future on Northrend, meaning we, as players, could actually be going there. The novel itself is set about 20,000 years ago, after the defeat of Galakrond, and it deals with all the events all the way until the Primal Incarnates are imprisoned, which essentially stops time and then just leads us into the Dragonfight. So there are a few characters and locations that are almost certainly going to be relevant. First is the so-called Frozen Fangs, which is essentially where Vironot lived back in Northrend in the old days. We don't exactly know the exact location, but it is a range of mountains that joins the ocean. It is entirely possible that this might have been destroyed with the Sun Ring. However, it is speculated that this is located either where Jotunheim is or somewhere around the end of Storm Peaks. As we know, Vironot became the new new 6th aspect in 10.2, it is entirely possible we could be going to the Frozen Fangs in Northrend to her old lair, as it could be...
okay, that explains her whole frozen, you know, she's all frozen and everything. Aspect stuff, because she's from Northrend. You know, I had no idea she was from Northrend until I watched this video. Okay, that's where her lair is.
Relevant in the near future. She might have something that could stop Iridikron's plan, as she used to work with him. I'm guessing this could be a side story of just discovering her lair, her old lair. However, the other location that we learn of is a lot more interesting. So we got the so-called Sawtooth Mountains, which is where Iridikron's lair was, and it could still actually be. The location is said to be close to where Galakron fell, so you would imagine somewhere around Dragonbite, but the best speculation that we have right now is that it is somewhere near the border of Crystal Song Forest, probably. Why I think this is very possible is because this is right smack in the middle of the continent, so it is very unlikely this was destroyed or buried with the Sundering, especially seeing that the remains of Galakron seem kind of intact nearby. They were not destroyed by the Sundering. Now, within these Sawtooth Mountains is the lair, the old ancient lair of Iridikron called Hero's Deep, and seeing that he's planning something big, it is entirely possible that he has returned back to his ancient lair now to plot new things to continue his plan. I mean, remember, Iridikron is said to know the deep places of Azeroth that no one else knows.
I had no idea that the dragon aspects in general were so connected to Northrend. I mean, I was making this return to Northrend prediction without even knowing this stuff. I think it's more and more obvious that we probably are going to go back to Northrend. But will there be some type of revamp of it? I don't know. They just revamped Pandaria, which I still don't understand why they would do that when we might go back to Northrend. But here we are talking about Northrend, and there hasn't been any real revamp assets put in the game yet.
It's entirely possible that he can reach these deep places to do his lair, and if we're gonna find him anywhere, it is probably gonna be his old home. At least he visited it once. The book also mentions interesting things in regards to him. He's said to be reclusive. In fact, Alexstrasza had never actually met him until a certain point, but most importantly, they talk about his relationship with Neltharion, which is something I personally always wondered about. Like, are these guys, I mean, they're literally twins, they're just on two sides of the cosmological battle. Like, were they friends, were they brothers, were they sworn enemies? So, to confirm it, no more speculations, they're definitely rivals. Neltharion doesn't like Iridikron. The book says that Iridikron was nearly equal to Neltharion in not only strength but cunning and strategy, and Neltharion saw him as a pretty significant threat. This kinda confirms that Iridikron is right around his power level, and if he gets new void powers, he could be above Deathwing himself in the very near future. Now, seeing that Farak seems to be the final boss of this expansion, Iridikron is 100% being saved for the next one, and we have even more interesting things to prove it, as it seems like Blizzard is actually putting some character development to him and really developing him into a more longer-lasting villain.
I would say Iridikron, as far as villains go, I mean, if you're going to compare to the Jailer, he's far and away superior. They have been doing a little bit better with character development for Iridikron. I feel like he's a bit more, you know, he's a more in-depth character. His motivations are pretty clear. He's not playing 4D chess with us. He's clearly told us he wants to bring the Titan. His motivation is to bait the Titans out so he can fight them and kill them. I think he believes that if he has the power of, you know, the essence of Galakron, it'll empower him. Plus, you know, playing with the Void and Zalatesh and all that stuff will bait them out. He thinks he can beat them. His motivations are clear, which is way more than we got with the Jailer. And his character in general is kind of cool. And now, how will that continue in the next expansion? Iridikron's storyline, I'm sure, will. But will he continue to be someone that we see as kind of a cool villain? I don't know.
Mind, as I said, the book itself seems like
who's pulling Iridikron strings? That's a question we haven't answered
yet.
But
I think this book is actually meant to be planting seeds for 11.0. It isn't meant to be just about Dragonflight. So, of course, we have some new characters that come in this book that are probably going to be very relevant, that are really interesting, and that are completely brand new. We've got this dragon called Telenstras that got ordered by Force, that is mentioned by name in this entire Alexstrasza Viranaut Divide, and this is specifically what had angered Viranaut in the past. This dragon could be mentioned soon. Then we learn about 3 wing leaders that served Iridikron. Most importantly, Virek, that is 100% a black slate, but he's like a significant lieutenant to Iridikron. Seeing that this guy is literally traveling back in time, we could be seeing his old comrades coming back to help him once again, maybe back to time. However, the most interesting character and 100% seems like a setup for the future is Ikronia, the actual sister of Iridikron. And not like a sister as the dragons would call each other, but literally like this is Iridikron's sister. Ikronia was ordered, turned into a full Titan dragon, which meant his own sister was turned to the side that he thought. And within the book itself, it was assumed she was lost in battle. However, keep in mind, it was only suggested she was lost, but it was never actually confirmed, which means that it is very likely she could be coming back soon.
So his sister accepted the gift of the Titans. Oh my god. Oh, this is interesting. I'm sure she will come up in the next expansion.
Now, if you guys remember in the past, Drellad was also mentioned, the undead brother that fell in the battle against Samiccus. It was the literal brother to Alexstrasza and Ysera. I don't think he's particularly relevant to Ikronia, but both are siblings of Alexstrasza and Iridikron, and both are being mentioned. However, I feel like Ikronia could have somehow survived, and she could either be of use to us to help us show where Iridikron is the weakest, or she could even turn back to his side. However, everything is kind of showing us the dragons are all just in total turning against the Titans, so I don't think we're actually going to be helping the Titans. We're probably going to be fighting the Titans very soon. Most importantly though, the mention of his lair potentially being there could signal us
I do see us kind of fighting the Titans. Now, I don't know if we're going to like be fighting them with Iridikron's side, but that kind of seems like iffy. I can't imagine us actually fighting side by side with him. But I can see us like defeating Iridikron, and the Titans think, oh, we did that for them, and then we turn on them and say, no, you guys were actually fucked up, and we're going to beat the shit out of you. And maybe we have Tyr on our side, we'll have Illidan on our side, maybe even Sargeras on our side. You know, all those characters could come back, because they're all kind of like anti-Titan-ish. Now, maybe Illidan, you know, he'll need some convincing, maybe, because he's currently chilling with them. Don't forget that. But could the Titans be the next big bad? Maybe. That's what I've been saying. I dropped a video about that yesterday.
Turning to Northrend. This could be where 10.2.5 happens, or 10.2.7. Keep in mind, at this point in time, we know absolutely nothing.
What would start the event of us fighting the Titans? Iridikron's going to bait them out. That's his whole thing. He's trying to bait the Titans out, right?
In the past, we kind of knew that 10.2 is going to be about the Emerald Dream, like we knew this 6 months ago. Right now, we only know 10.2 is about the Emerald Dream, but we know nothing what happens further. I'm guessing after a minute or so returns, we'll get a patch talking about Night Elven Restoration,
Night Elven Restoration and stuff. Yeah, someone asked, do I think Anduin will come back? I do. Anduin's he's got to have more story content in the next expansion. He will come back. There's going to be something about the reason he comes back. I'm still not sure. Maybe it's just Alliance leadership loses their mind. Don't forget, we got a crazy, you know, light religious guy leading the Alliance right now. He could be a warmonger for all we know. So maybe, you know, Anduin comes back to stop that stuff. But he's definitely coming back. We're going to see Sylvanas probably come back too at some point. There's a lot of characters right now that are just shelved that we'll probably see in the next expansion.
Revamps and all that, but we could be going in this half patch to Iridikron's lair as a setup for the next expansion. He's probably gonna abandon his lair, but we're probably gonna find some info.
I don't think we'll fight side by side with Iridikron. No, I think we're gonna defeat him and then fight the Titans.
To 11.0. Additionally, conveniently enough, last year and just a week or two back, we got 2 brand new books, Exploring Azeroth, Northrend, and Exploring Azeroth, Pandaria. Both of them are kind of filler, updating the old zones to the current day, but both have old god hints. The first one in Northrend talks about Yogg-Saron's presence still echoing in this zone, and other just released...
Yogg-Saron's presence is all but confirmed, because they already said, you know, talking about the new place that we're going or whatever, the Titans have sent stony dwarf boys over there, and they've gotten the Curse of Flesh. Curse of Flesh is directly related to Yogg-Saron, so he is doing something. Either his essence is still there, something's going on, but the Yogg-Saron Curse of Flesh is still reoccurring. So we're probably going to see him too.
Pandaria book mentions the Mantid going back to worshipping Y'Shaarj. Of course, these are not exactly old gods are coming back right now, returning hints, but as I said, Iridikron's lair is around the middle of Northrend, where Yoxeron's prison is, and if he has tunnels under the ground to the so-called deep places, I mean, he would have without a doubt dug into the prison of Yoxeron, and this could be a pretty big game changer for the actual return of the old gods. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how the story develops, but at the moment, the return to Northrend in some type of a smaller branch or questline seems very likely. And also, keep in mind, Ikronia, Iridikron's sister, as well as his former commanders, are probably gonna be pretty relevant soon. Thank you for watching. Check out all the 11.0 leaks by clicking on the screen to get all the up-to-date info just before BlizzCon, and check out my video on ancient Greeks in Spain by also clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Iridikron's sister, this kind of makes sense. You know, maybe he was a bit more pissed off at the fact that his own sister took the gift of the Titans. You know, she could play a role going forward. We haven't seen anything about her yet, but all of this stuff referring to Northrend, I've been saying for quite a while now that Northrend hints are coming hard and fast, and everyone thought it was because of Classic Wrath. No, I think we're going back to Northrend in the next expansion. I do.